Alright, now, so you're looking at your little compound and you're like, ooh, there's more than 2 elements there. Well, hey, if you've got more than 2 elements, most likely you've got a polyatomic ion, okay? So, hopefully you've memorized all those lovely polyatomic ions and you can just easily recognize them. But if not, make sure you grab out your list, okay? And as soon as you recognize in a compound there's more than 2 elements, you got a polyatomic ion there. And as soon as you find it, circle it, okay? This will help you out big if you can immediately circle your polyatomic ion when you're right before you do your naming. Now, we've got 3 different scenarios that we need to go over real quick with polyatomic ions, okay? So I'm just going to go over each of these. The first one is when you have a polyatomic ion and another polyatomic ion, okay? Okay, so you got 2 polyatomic ions that are stuck together. Probably when you like total up, there's like 4 different elements there, okay? Maybe even 5. I don't think we could do 6. But anyways, you've got 2 different polyatomic ions, okay? Well, here's what you need to do. First polyatomic ion there. Name as memorized. Yeah, you memorized them already, so you should be able to just straight name it. Second polyatomic ion, what do you do with it? Guess what? Name it as you memorized. Great, okay? So this should be pretty easy. Here's an example of this. Example, NH4OH. Now, you'll notice there's more than 2 elements here, okay? That's going to help you out. The next thing I tell students to do, circle your polyatomic ions. And you should notice 1 polyatomic ion here, and you should notice here's another one. So you've got 2 polyatomic ions. So what are we going to do here? Well, first polyatomic ion just says name as memorized. So what's NH4? NH4 is ammonium. Then we go here and we go, okay, OH, OH, OH. Ooh, that's kind of one of those weird ones. Yeah, it is. It's still a polyatomic ion, and its name is hydroxide. So, what's the name of the compound? Ammonium hydroxide. Hey, that's almost like too simple, right? Nah, it's kind of nice. Alright, next set. So the first one is when we've got polyatomic ion and a polyatomic ion. Okay, next set is when we've got polyatomic ion and a non-metal. So the polyatomic ion is listed first, and then the non-metal is listed later on. Okay, what are we going to do here? Hey, polyatomic ion. What do we do with polyatomic ion? Name as memorized. Alright, that's nice. So keep your polyatomic ion name the same. Non-metal. What do we do there? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to drop the ending and add what? You should have this down by now. Add IDE and add IDE. Okay, example. NH4Br. Okay, again, more than 2 elements. Circle your polyatomic ion. There it is. Okay, so what's this right here? That's ammonium. Okay, what's that right there? Well, that's non-metal and it's bromine. So do I write down ammonium bromine? No. Drop the ending and add IDE. So it should be ammonium bromide. Deal. Okay, last one. Metal and a polyatomic ion. Metal and a polyatomic ion. Okay, metal. What are we going to do with our metal? Well, write down the name found on your periodic table. Okay, first thing. Next thing. If there's more than one, what? Yeah, oxidation number. Oxidation number. Use your parentheses and Roman numerals, just like we discussed earlier. Okay, polyatomic ion. What do we do with that baby? Well, guess what? Name as memorize. Good. Okay, now let's do an example here. If I've got Pb SO4, again, what you're going to notice here is you've got a metal, that's the Pb, it's on the left side of the zigzag line, and you've got a polyatomic ion, which is right here. Okay? You should have known there was a polyatomic ion in it because there's more than two elements. So, what is Pb? Well, Pb is lead. And then we got to check on the periodic table, and when we look at lead there, you'll notice that for lead, there's a 2 and there's a 4. So we need to figure out the charge and put that in parentheses. Alright? We'll do that here in just a second. Okay, next part is this polyatomic ion. What's this polyatomic ion? SO4 is sulfate. Okay, now let's go back to that charge thing. Well, sulfate, if you look up on your polyatomic ion list, it's SO4, what? -2. So this whole thing is a -2. Well, if the whole SO4 is a -2, then your Pb has to be a +2 because it has to add up to 0. +2, -2 adds up to 0. So how do we do Roman numerals for +2? Looks like this. So that is what we do when we've got more than two elements. First off, identify that polyatomic ion and circle it. Then figure out, do I have two polyatomic ions? Do I have a polyatomic ion and a nonmetal? Or do I have probably the most common situation, a metal and a polyatomic ion?